Hey everybody, Jim Chester here, Chiro Hustle Podcast. We are at Oklahoma Focus OKC 2018. We are at the Cox Convention Center. This is Tim Young's event, but we have the honor of having Brett Jones here with us today. And he brought the Kairos training culture out here with him. And I just wanted to say thank you everybody that's been with us going live over the weekend. And I'm just going to ask Brett a couple things here. Brett, what brought you out here, man?
So this is actually my third event here. The first time I was out here, I came to film an archery showcase with Dr. Tim Young, and then last year I came and spoke, and then this is the first year that we're coming mainly as a vendor. And so Kairos Training Culture is here, and then I brought my whole crew from the Source Chiropractic in Oakland. So we have 10 of the people that work with me in Oakland. And so yeah, this is one of my favorite chiropractic events in chiropractic, and so excited to be here with the crew so we can learn and get better.
So tell me this, why should more people be here?
I think ultimately you want to put yourself in environments where you're pushed to grow, where you're pushed to transcend what you previously thought possible, and so that often happens in a group setting. It's hard to do it on your own. Not to say it can't be done on your own, but it seems to be when you put a good mix of people together that they will just elevate your vibration. And so that's why we're here, just to continuously get better every single day.
And I know that you guys really fundamentally care about the adjustment and the specificness of the adjustment. Why is that so necessary to all the chiropractors you might be watching?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest reason that Adjusting Ninjas, now Kairos Training Culture, got started was to bring back some of that original splendor and really results of the chiropractic adjustment. I got into chiropractic based on what I was reading in the green books. And then what you were seeing is just that you just weren't seeing the same results now, in my opinion, anyway, from my perspective. And so it wasn't because we were missing therapies. It was because the training wasn't being done to really understand the fullness of what can happen in a chiropractic adjustment. And so looking at old videos, we saw BJ training on the roof, BJ, training groups of people on tires and all these things. So it was like, well, shoot, we got to train this thing to really start to understand it. And so that's what we do. We train the art of chiropractic.
And I know that you brought all your crew out here. What's it like for you to have all them with you?
It's amazing because a few of our CAs and even a few of the doctors that are with me have never been here before. We've never done like a big chiropractic event all together because now we keep bringing on new people. So it's just it's good to have the whole team so that we can come and we can collaborate, from the things that we're being inspired by. And it's amazing. That's why I think if you're a doc out there and you go to events, really try to bring your team, because it's one thing that you evolve, and that your consciousness starts to shift, but you really want to have that be on board with your team so that you guys can grow together, so they understand when you're making new changes in the office, they're not, oh, what's this motherfucker doing again? It's like, oh, no, they're on board with it.
Yeah, and I know that what you're doing is a lot of training, a lot of teaching. Why is this so important for you to be a part of that?
I just noticed the void, and so I think that's what we're all here for, is when we notice voids that we help meet those needs and fill those gaps. And so I thought I could bring something that's really going to help, inspire, really, student level at the first step of it. Was just seeing that, unfortunately, that there wasn't a lot of things that were meeting their needs. One of the big things was that people would go do seminars, but they would leave, and there wouldn't be any follow-up for those people to continue their training. And so that's what we did. We created a 6-month module system that was gifted to every single person that took our training camp, so that way they can go back to their campuses and that they would have follow-up material so they could keep training. But it's one thing, like I said, you go to a seminar, you get something drop in, and then, if you don't train it, it's gone in the next week. And so we gave them the support material so they could continue to honor their training and push the envelope.
Yeah, and there's one thing about talking, and there's another thing about doing. Why is it so important to keep doing?
Well, because ultimately, if you're talking about the art of chiropractic, it is a physical expression. This is the force that unites intelligence and matter. And so we talk about unconscious competence. So training to a point that it's just in your nerve system, that you own it. And when you own it, that you can be a better listener, more present with the person on the table, and ultimately deliver something that comes through you and not from you. The greatest in chiropractic always talked about being a hollow bone or an empty vessel, so that source or the intelligence could work through. And that's where you're going to see those miracles. And so unless you're training it, you're going to be concentrated on the conscious components of it, and you miss out on that something.
Yeah, and out here in Oklahoma, I know there's a lot of impassioned chiropractors in that room over there. Honestly, why is it so important for everybody to bring their camps to these types of events?
Well, I think just collaboration in general. So for instance, like we can easily get caught up in only doing the things that we are in full agreement with. So I think it's important to expose yourself to different perspectives, to stay open. One of those things that they usually say is like, I love you because I love the things that you love the things that I love. And I'm like, you're probably not growing very much if you're only hanging out with people that love the things that you love, right? So let's step around some people that may be doing things differently. That means going to different people that have different trains of thought, people that express differently. Because ultimately, like, I have no judgment for any other chiropractor out there in the world, no matter what they do, if their aim is helping people. Now, it may express differently. We know that. We know it's going to express all kinds of different ways. But guess what? By them doing them, it allows me to do me. And I can still love and appreciate and honor who they are as an individual, again, if they are out there trying to do good in the world.
Yeah, and if you guys want to know more about what Dr. Brett is doing with The Source out in Oakland, listen to his episode of Chiro Hustle. It's been a lot of fun to be able to work with him over the past 6 months, getting to know him. We dropped into his practice, got adjusted by Brett out there in Oakland, and we went out to Life West, and I think that might be the only non-chiropractor I ever see when you're training seminars together.
I think so, yes. We lead morning training sessions, and so I hopped in once a quarter or once every other quarter. I'll go join a morning training session with one of the schools, and I was at Life West, and Jim was there checking us out and got to see kind of what it's all about, So it's been underground to a lot of people, but ultimately what we're doing is we're training the art of chiropractic, and we're dropping in with meditation, breath work, mobility, but then also training the actual elements of the adjustment, so your power, your speed, your balance, your coordination, and all of those things, so that again, so you can be more present with the person on the table.
And what happens when people don't take care of the source, which is inside of them? What happens to them over time?
Over time, become disimpassioned. It's just like we got to remember why we got into this, and that's why I love those morning routines where you connect back to the bigness of why you're doing what you're doing. Because you get into business, you get into the profession, you start being a doctor. I think you can get caught up easily in the money game. You get caught up in the patients that aren't coming in, all this other stuff, and forgetting why you got started. And so the continual training is so necessary.
And that's the thing that I'm going to touch on is it's not just the continual training, but it's about keeping your body strong to where you don't break down over time, because It's not just worrying about the business and worrying about that 10% of the people that don't show up.
Sure.
It's taking care of that 100% that's inside of you, so you can take care of that 90% of the people that do show up.
Right, and that's one of the things I love what Dr. Lance Von State has contributed to the profession. So he's the co-partner in Kairos training culture, and he's basically all in the art of sustainability. And so he's brought a lot of the concepts from foundation training and Dr. Eric Goodman into the work that we do, so that we know how to properly hip hinge, you know how to properly squat, so that when you're serving people on the table, you're not injuring yourself. And a lot of people don't know, but in the first 5 years of practice, there's been research done that about 40% of chiropractors will get injured. And so we're out here trying to save people, from injury, or people are often recovering from injuries and often getting injured ourselves. And so what good are we if we can't do what we do? And so I believe we got to develop some better habits and better strategies.
Yeah, and that's not just like physical habits, it's business habits, because 1 and 2 chiropractors fail in business after 5 years too. So if we're getting injured and we're failing financially because of poor business,
Double whammy.
I mean, we just need to support each other from the ground up and from above down, inside out.
I agree 100%.
Well, hey man, Brett, thank you so much for being here with me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your passion with our audience out there. Thank you for Tim Young and his team for putting on such a dynamic event. This is year number 9 out here in Oklahoma. OK Focus. If you guys didn't make it this year, make it next year. And I just want to say, my tagline is, "You're just one story away." What do I say? Keep hustling.
Keep hustling. Get it.
See you guys on the next one.